Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Charlton Chronicles, or as we like to call it tonight, Rantville. As you can see, we are joined by Paul, Tom, Tyler, Sid, and Steve, and we will be discussing yesterday's game. I don't really know how to describe it, but we're going to find a way through it tonight to talk about and dissect what happened yesterday. We obviously don't want to be too negative, but we're going to speak the truth and we're going to be realistic with what we've got to say. And then just to do things a little bit different, once we've done that, as we've got no game to preview, we're going to ask for some questions for your team here from people in the chat. So if there's anything you'd like to know about any of the team, any questions for any of us, then drop them into the chat and I will ask them at the end. And let's get tonight really interactive with you guys as well. I really want to hear your feedback on the game yesterday and what you guys are thinking. So, Paul, I'll start with you. How are you, mate?
Oh, did you have to? No worries. No, I'm consigning myself with some cider. It's not Cornish orchards, it's Kentish pips. So cheers, everybody. Yeah, I felt sick after that, Emma. It had nothing to do with the Wetherspoon's breakfast, the pint of cider and the 3 tequila roses I had in quick succession, I assure you. Yeah, I mean, I think once we got to 1-1, I mean, I thought, this game's here for the taking. So to lose like that, it was so frustrating, really. So, but obviously we'll get into it. But yeah, I've been better.
Yeah, and Tom, how are you, mate? You were obviously sat next to Mr. Davenport yesterday, so I'm sure that was a lovely experience.
Sorry, Tom. Yeah, sorry, mate.
So, how are you doing today?
I've obviously been a lot better, but no, I mean, it was actually quite nice being next to Paul. Everyone around us was actually quite nice, to be fair.
They were.
Everyone was kind of very decent, all shared the same opinions of the game. That's for sure. But yeah, hopefully, as I say, this is kind of a blip before the international break, and afterwards we can step up because the next game we really need to.
Yes, we won't really talk about that game today, but yeah, we all know who's next. Sid and Steve, lovely to see you both yesterday as always. How are you both?
Yeah, not so bad. The frustration's probably out of our system after yesterday, and the sort of look back on it. We got it out the way and started a new day. So yeah, we're all right. We're okay.
Good. And Tyler, last but not least, how are we?
Yeah, all right. It's been a stressful day today covering the absolute chaos that was the Dutch Grand Prix in the Formula One, and now jumping on here tonight a couple of hours later talking about yesterday, which is going to be a joy and probably may annoy me too much. But yeah, very disappointing yesterday, but I refuse to get too downbeat about it, to be honest.
Yeah. Who won the Grand Prix out of interest, Tyler?
Well, in case anyone hasn't watched the race, it was Oscar Piastri.
Oh, okay. Okay. I don't really like Formula One, but I thought I'd ask him. It's like
those who are interested.
Yeah, it's just like I don't get it. It's just like Sky Electrics, isn't it? We'll say good evening to some of you in the chat. So Charlie's first in there. Hello, Team Chronicles. Hope you're all well. Disappointing as it was, Nathan Jones teams always start season slowly and gradually improve over the season. I still think we'll be okay. Barry's next in. Hi, guys. Hope you're all not too saddened by the loss. Stefan's job was starting to look beyond him, so they were always going to come out blazing on Saturday, onwards and upwards. Tracy's in there. Good evening. Jack's in there. Good evening. Glenny boys in there, evening Emma and gang. Another loss. Let's hope we change after the break. Mark is next in there. Good evening. There was a strange atmosphere in the stand and it was a bit of a weird game overall. Hopefully we don't have too many of them this season. Just to say about the atmosphere, I can't stand it when you've got two sides of the stand singing different songs. It's my pet hate. I'm singing Valley Floyd Road and they're singing something about Rob Apter and I'm like, what?
I heard that.
It's too much. Jack's Life's in there. Good evening. Zara's in there. Good evening. She said, though we lost, hopefully we'll be stronger after the break. Chris is in there. I've lost him. No. Evening. Hope you're all good. Rant Chronicles tonight. Kimmy's in there. Hi all. Frustrating result here for the online therapy. I don't think it's the kind of therapy that you're going to get.
Yeah,
I think it's more you might need tablets rather than you might need tablets after listening to us, actually. Connor's next in there. Evening all. Shame about yesterday. We move in Nathan Jones we trust. Margaret's next in there. Good evening. Charlton Forever's in there. Hi all. Our set pieces were woeful yesterday, which is the main focus of our chances we create, especially from the corners. This dramatically reduced our chances of scoring in the end that showed. Soph is in there. Evening all. Missed you, Ems. Love you too. Zach's in there. Good evening. Chris is in there. Good evening. So we will start trying to dissect, that disaster yesterday. I think not only did we get mugged off by paying £39 for a ticket, and I queued up for a beer at the beginning of the game. They had one bar open, one till working, and they didn't have white wine. I know they gave them away free at half time, Tommy. Don't need to rub it in. I didn't get one. They had one till working. They didn't have white wine, so I had to have red wine, which tasted like vinegar, and then I spilt it all over my white top. So that was a really great start to the day, to be fair. So I only got worse. So I'm going to do things a bit different tonight because, Paul, I normally come to you first, but I'm not going to come to you first. I'm actually going to go to the one person who wasn't at the game yesterday, but did watch it on the telly. So, Tyler, I'm good because I'm really interested to hear your perspective on the game through watching it live and seeing what your thoughts are. So dissect that if you can for me, without going too deep into player performances.
Well, where do I start? Well, line up, we can't really question. I think the only change I'd have made would have been TC, who I'm sure we will dissect in a bit of detail. Fully expected him to start, to be honest, knowing Jones. Opening 20 minutes was pretty poor, and that's probably putting it lightly, probably very poor, probably a better way to describe it, or maybe that doesn't do it justice either. QPR just popped us really inside the opening minutes. They played some really good football. They clearly wanted to bounce back from the defeat to Coventry. They played some really good football. Karamoko Dembele was excellent. Paul Smith, of course, standard. He got a goal against us and celebrations of boot. People have argued Kaminsky could have done better for the goal. I don't know if that's harsh or not. I probably blame the defence in front of him for it because they just fell apart, to be honest. We didn't look like we could get in the game until the final 25, and then we improved. Leeburn smacked the bar. Really good cross from Edwards, probably the only good cross, apart from obviously the goal, but the only good cross of the first half that actually came off, and it was a shame that Leeburn couldn't put that in. Second half, I felt, to be honest, we looked strong. I thought we started strong. TC, the only chance he really got on the ball to take someone on, he actually done it. And the only time he took a defender on and beat him, crossing the box, Aptar, very weird goal, but they all count. Happy for him to score. Then after that, I thought, all right, here we go. Right, we're back in this now, and I think we're in a good position. I felt we were competitive, to be honest, for the most part. Looked like we were going to take it to them a little bit. It was very end-to-end. It was sort of there for the taking for both teams, to be honest. And then, again, we'll probably dissect it in more detail, but the substitutions killed us for me. I think completely the wrong decision. Worked from all counts, really. No one really made an impact. Crosses were poor, set pieces were terrible, and ultimately we didn't take the chances that we sort of created, if you could put it that way. And then Sato runs through, Jones forgets how to defend, and out of man mark someone, runs straight past him, and unlucky with a deflection, but that's it. And from the moment they scored, I thought, well, yeah, that's dead and buried, because we just couldn't create anything. And then obviously we threw the kitchen sink at it towards the end and conceded another cheap goal at the end, which shouldn't have happened. So, yeah, I think a wake-up call is how I'd describe that. I think of a reality check. I think we're going to have a lot of games like that this season. And I think people need to understand that, to be honest. I know a lot of people weren't happy, but at the end of the day, we need to expect that this season. Championship's a difficult league. QPR are no mugs, and we're going to have games like that. We are going to be down the bottom this season. That's just realistic. That is just a realistic target. Anyone who thought we'd be higher than that or competitive is just brain dead, to be honest. But look, I still felt that in parts we were competitive. It wasn't as if QPR completely battered us off the park, because they didn't, in my opinion. I felt 3-1 was a pretty harsh scoreline, to be honest, because as I said, I think back end of the first half we come into it. Second half we were good up until they got the second goal. It was end to end. We weren't out of the game. We just didn't create chances. Defence was had a very off day. Midfield was non-existent, kept punting balls long for no reason, and then the front two again. We'll discuss it again in more detail. But look, it was tough to swallow. The 3 goals were very poor, if we're being honest. But hopefully, I consider that hopefully as an off day, and we can hopefully come back after the summer break, international break, and we can come back fighting for the next game, which is obviously all important. But yeah, very disappointed. I'm not getting too downbeat about it, but I think the way I described that is a massive wake-up call for not just the team, but also the fans and the expectation for us this season, because I think it was slightly, heightened from the opening games we had. We're still competitive, but yeah, I think that was a massive wake-up call.
Yeah, and just reiterating what you said there, I actually rewatched that goal earlier, and I shared it on my Facebook, the Saito one. The way the geezer just strolls through the middle of the park, and 1 minute Jones is like running alongside him, and then he's just like, all right, I'll let you go past. And I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Like, where is, and that's not just criticising him. Look, that defence yesterday in general were a shambles. Were an absolute shambles. And I'd say Amari Bell, I thought, was probably the best out of 3 again. Yeah. And I think maybe he's the one out of 3 that doesn't get the praise that he should do. But I think he actually made the other 2 look stupid yesterday. So there we go. Sid and Steve, I'll come to you both. I just want, a bit like Tyler, can you just sum up your thoughts on the game in general yesterday? I think it's really interesting to just gauge different people's opinions.
Yeah, in a nutshell, very similar to Tyler in that respect. And me as well, I was kind of trying to get myself away from being negative this season, because we're in the Championship. It's all about staying up. Want to try and remain positive if I can, and look on the sort of the better side of life. But yeah, some of the decisions that were made yesterday were baffling, if I'm being honest with you. Substitutions, they've been spoken about today already. Tactically, I think we were a little bit inept in certain circumstances, and the personnel that were chosen for substitutions at the times that they were chosen for substitutions, I just couldn't really put it together. It was almost like Jones had some sort of either what he must have perceived to be a brainwave at the other end, but whatever he was thinking was completely wrong. I think it put us further back once the game was there to be won at 1-1, as Paul mentioned there. It just needed a cool head. It needed for us to keep attacking down the areas that we were getting success in. Apter was brilliant. He was causing problems. Leeburn was still doing a good job up there, and I think it was there. And then to make those changes, it seemed to put us back. Seemed to put the crowd back. Seemed to put the players back. There's some definite questions there in regards to who should have stayed on, who shouldn't have stayed on. But I'm sure we'll cover that in a bit more detail. But yeah, incredibly disappointing after a really good start to the season. Wanted to stay positive, but as I say, I don't think the team was helped yesterday by some very, very strange decisions. But yeah, we go again, I suppose. Yeah.
You got anything to add to that, Sid?
Yeah, it was a bit of a shocking day, to be honest, because they've just lost 7-1 to Coventry. You're thinking, right, they're on a bit of a down, so we could go and take that down even further for them. But no, I don't know. I was expecting a lot more, and it was very disappointing. But I'm not sure if we kind of deserved more, because, I mean, there are quite a lot of players on the pitch from our team yesterday who kind of just didn't show what they were about, like they have in games before. And as Dad said, some decisions were made that probably shouldn't have been made. But yeah, I don't know. I guess move on to the next game and see what happens. But I just don't want it to be another loss.
Yeah, definitely. I think I spoke to, obviously I was with my husband yesterday, and he just looked at me and he went, they haven't turned up. And Tom, do you think, like, obviously they got absolutely, taken to church by Coventry, 7-1. It wasn't going to be a QPR team that were going to be shy about coming out and giving it their all, after that defeat. I'm sure they felt embarrassed, ashamed. And do you get the feeling that we just weren't prepared for what they were going to throw at us?
I mean, it was a completely different thing from the Leicester game, because Leicester game was unlucky. Yesterday we was just horrific. It's as simple as that. Yeah, I do feel like we kind of underestimated them a little bit, just purely based on the fact they got battered the week prior. But at the same time, we had also lost, so I was like, okay, are we going to come up fighting again? But obviously, that unfortunately did not happen. Obviously, as you say, we'll get into the players and everything. But yeah, I mean, the referee again, he was horrific. He was. I think we've had him before somewhere. I don't know where.
Mr. Kitchen, yeah, he's
that one. Yeah,
playoff
I was about to say
final time he was the rest of
that. Yeah, I was like, I recognize him from somewhere, and he every single thing, it was horrific from him. But yeah, I do feel like we kind of underestimated him a little bit, not too much, but yeah, I mean, once it got to 1-1, I thought, okay, maybe here we go, because I thought between that sort of 60-75 mark was the better team. But obviously that changed as soon as their goal went in, and obviously as everyone said before, the subs, as soon as you bring on six strikers or something at the same time, you can have no one in midfield. They're always going to catch you on the counter. It's as simple as that. And it had to be Kone as well, which, I mean, it seems he's firing on all cylinders for him at the moment. But yeah, as I say, the most important thing for me is that we actually bounce back from this, use the 2 weeks actually fine, and hopefully come back against the other lot. Yeah,
definitely. And I've just got to actually give Richard Kone a bit of credit for yesterday, because I thought he was an absolute nuisance. And for the player that we probably saw in the playoffs against us, who was rubbish, you know, and I think he absolutely mullered our defence yesterday. He looks like he's bulked up a bit, and I just thought he was an absolute menace yesterday. And I'll give the guy credit, because he came from probably a back end, you know, a pretty poor back end of the season last year, and he's really worked on his game, and all credit to him. You know, what a signing he's been for them guys. So, Paul, I'm saving my my biggest rant for you, because we've got to talk about them substitutions, mate. Like, now, for me, I'm going to rant as well. So if anyone wants to, you know, an early night, just listen to us two, because we're about to bore you to death. For me, Sonny Carey has probably been our best player of the season so far. I've been so completely impressed with him. Like, I'm not just saying that because he's ginger, just putting that out there. I think the geezer's been unreal. For his expectation from when he come in, the fans were like, oh, we don't want him. He's got no championship experience. Even my friends up at Blackpool were like, no, he ain't going to make the step up. I think he's been outstanding. Now, he put himself about in that game yesterday. I thought he was fantastic again. And he's keeping Harvey Nibbs out of the team. Then we move on to Rob Actor. Probably our only danger yesterday. He scores a goal, right? He scores the goal. We absolutely are dominating the game at this point.
Yeah.
And he takes them both off. Who in their right mind does that when we're on top in the game? Why would
I'd imagine the only possible excuse, Emma, for that would be if they were both knackered, but I didn't see any evidence of that. I don't know if any of you thought at the time. I couldn't see it. I thought, well, let's press home the advantage. I mean, they were carrying the ball forward. Rob was, obviously he's got a great new song and he deserves it. And he played really well. And he was probably the one bright spark, apart from obviously Miles putting himself about and doing the 90, which I thought was, impressive. But yeah, both Sonny and both the ex-Blackpool lads have been revelatory really this season. And they carried on in the same vein yesterday, I thought. And I was mystified, as I'm sure most of the away end, as to why he took them off, because I couldn't see any. There was no obvious sort of injury or sort of lethargy. They were still, as far as I could see, sort of full of beans. So I thought, why on earth do that? And then, as I say, to replace them with Charlie and Harvey, it was still trying to get up to speed. And as Steve said, it sort of sets back. I just couldn't fathom it, basically. And myself and Tom were talking about, Tanto time, at least giving Tanto, say, 10 minutes of normal time. And when does he bring him on? 2 minutes after Saito scored. And it's like, it's like closing a stable door when the horses go 5 miles down the road. It's like, I know it's a counterfactual, but if he'd have brought Tanto on, say, the 80th minute, hopefully Tanto would have started causing chaos. We would have detained them up at their end. They wouldn't have had the chance to break. I mean, I know it's just ifs, buts and maybes, but it's just so frustrating. Like those two, to me, were just sort of glaringly unnecessary substitutions, basically. And, as I said, Harvey and Charlie. And Charlie had a couple of chances. He was almost in. And of course, we'll talk about the trip that obviously wasn't penalised as it should have been fully. But yeah, it just seemed to me that we were getting into a rhythm. We brought it back to 1-1. We were in the ascendancy. The crowd was starting to turn, and yet, as I say, he takes them off, and then, as I say, Saito slaloms through. And we could talk about the lead up to that and all the rest of it. But yeah, I just didn't understand those two substitutions. But that sort of set the tone for the last 15, 20 minutes of the game. Really, I just couldn't. They were completely unfathomable to me.
Yeah, and I've a really interesting comment from Mark in the chat. The subs were summed up. I've lost it. Hold up. The subs were summed up by us setting up for a free kick in their area, and Jones drags 9-foot Leeburn off for Joe Rankin Costello. Is it me, or is that not basic stuff? Dragging actor off to put a knackered Tyrese Campbell right wing back. Poor. Stephen said, I'll come on to you. I think the thing that frustrates me the most is Nathan Jones takes no responsibility for his actions. Now, in my it's my opinion, whether people agree or not, I think he cost us that game yesterday by those substitutions. Now, do you think the substitutions in general were wrong for me? Like chucking. I mean, let's talk. I'll tell you what. I'll use you two to talk about Tanto, because I don't know what this guy has to do to get in. You could tell I'm getting antsy because my hands are going everywhere. I don't know what this guy has to do to get in this football team. We have £5 million worth of striking talent on that bench, and we're playing Tyrese Campbell up front. We will talk separately about Tyrese, but that's £5 million sitting on that bench, and we are not playing them. Now, if he didn't want to sign these guys, why did you go out and sign them? Because Tanto was a first teamer for Stockport last year. From what I've seen of him, I've been massively impressed. I think he's strong, he's quick, he holds the play up fantastic. All of us were calling for him to be in that starting 11 yesterday. What is Nathan Jones not seeing that we're all seeing? And are you as frustrated with it as I am?
Honestly, don't really know what he's up to be honest, because as you just said, Emma, Tanto's looking really good when he plays and when he comes on. So I don't understand why you wouldn't use him, because he actually looks quite good with Miles up front. But I mean, you put Tyrese in, it's almost like Nathan Jones is saying Tyrese is undroppable, or he's kind of like a favourite. But honestly, I don't think he is, and I think that Tanto deserves his minutes rather than bringing him on 5 minutes before the end. I mean, that's not going to help at all when we're 3-1 down.
I think there was. I think this. I felt this in the crowd yesterday. I felt that certainly where we were sitting and the guys around us, everyone kind of was sort of thinking, well, this has got Tanto written all over it. This game, it was 1-1. You're just thinking, right, just unleash him now. Let him go. Let him run. Let him do his bits, hassle him, whatever. It was there for the taking, and. To not utilise this guy and the qualities that he brings to the side is just quite something at the moment. So especially in the circumstances yesterday. I know you're going to talk about Tyrese on a different level in a minute, but yeah, it was crying out for someone like that in the game yesterday. You could argue that he brought Kelman on, and Kelman showed a couple of flashes. Certainly when he got fouled on the edge of the box, he looked sharp, but. I'm not sure what more Tanto has to does in the minutes that he does get to give him an opportunity to get more minutes. 5 minutes yesterday when we were 2-1 down, it's the sort of kick in the teeth that a player will realise and understand when he comes onto the pitch. That guy's probably looking for an opportunity to open up his legs in regards to, right, let me have a few sprints, let me upset a few people. You're not going to be able to do that in 5 minutes. You know, he needs a 25, 30, 35-minute run. And if it's not working, even a situation like yesterday, we were so poor in the first half, it might have bucked everyone up by putting him on at half-time yesterday. But why he didn't do that, I mean, it's anyone's guess after yesterday. It really is anyone's guess, I think, yeah.
Yeah, and Mark's put another couple of interesting comments in the chat. So I'll respond to this one because he said, I think Tanto buggered himself with that display on Tuesday. At the end of the day, I think Tuesday, if that had been the starting 11 and Tanto, it would have been a different game and you would have seen a different Tanto. You know, there wasn't one player from Tuesday night, apart from it, Isaiah Fuller, that could have held their hands up and said, I had a good game, because the whole team, except Fuller, was shocking. So I don't really think that is fair to judge Tanto on that performance, I would say. And then, obviously, Mark has then said again, Tanto was one of the big parts of Stockport's side last year, probably one of the best attacking sides in the league. He needs to play. So, Tyler, I'm going to come to you next because I want to talk about, for me, the one player maybe that has recently brought a bit of positivity back to the side, and that's Miles Leeburn.
Yeah.
Now, I've been a big critic of Miles, as you guys probably know on here. You know, last year I was calling his work ethic a bit lazy, his attitude a bit shitty. You know, I didn't think that he was maybe giving his all as much as he could. Now, yesterday he won 16 out of 22 headers. Who was there supporting him? Who was running off him? How many flicks and how many knockdowns were there? Who was there? That's a major issue. But let's go back to Miles. What have you thought of his recent performances, Tyler?
He feels like a new signing, in all honesty. He's back playing at the sort of level that we saw when he first broke into the team in League One, when he was scoring goals for fun in that god awful team under Dean Holden. But yeah, I was probably like you and had my critics and had my worries about him coming into the season because of his injury record. It didn't exactly hold him to high account with some of the performances he put in, because I did think he was a bit lazy with his work ethic, in all honesty, or just didn't offer anything. So I was a bit sort of concerned in terms of the step up he was going to make to the Championship. But my God, has he stepped up. Really, really good. And for me, he's our best striker at the moment, honestly. As you say there, 16 out of 22 headers. Dominated their back line yesterday, and he had no support. No support from the wing-backs, no support from TC, no support from the midfield. He was just lonely geezer. They're smashing the ball long all the time, and he's winning everything there, and there's nothing there. It's the same thing that happened last season, because we were doing exactly the same thing. You know, it's, I guess, similar to sort of, well, not comparing Leeburn to Gassan, but it's a similar sort of situation as to what we were doing to Gassan, just pelting balls long. He's winning the headers, nothing. You know, what can we do? And I felt bad for Leeburn yesterday, because he was one of the few players that I felt could hold his head high from yesterday and say that he did a good job, because the effort was there. You know, he's putting it in. Very unlucky to not score. Great connection from Edwards' cross, and very unlucky to smash the bar. I think he's just waiting for that goal to kick on now. But I just feel bad for him, because he's in a position where we don't really know who to play next to him. Well, I think we know it's Tanto. It's because that's the only front two that's actually worked this season. And I know that we were talking about yesterday and saying, yes, it was Stevenage in the cup, but come on, you could see it. You could see that those two worked well. They had that, I guess you could say, sort of telepathy. Looked as if they've been playing with each other for months, and they knew how to feed off each other. And I want to see that in the Championship, because I think they can offer something, you know, and it can be a very interesting combination. But as for Miles, I think he can really hold his head high. I think he's been really well trained, and he's done what you can tell he's put the effort in over pre-season and over the summer to get himself ready for this level. And I had my concerns, but he's definitely shut me up since coming off the bench, and now deservedly so is getting minutes. I'm really impressed by him, and I hope that he can get a goal to his name, and once then I'm sure he'll be kicking, provided he can stay fit, of course. But yeah, I just felt really sorry for him yesterday, because he really wrung his socks off, and I was gutted that he didn't score, and even more so that he didn't take the chances. But is what it is. Very impressive with him though.
Yeah, no, I echo all your sentiments there, and I think, you know, on this podcast especially, we needed to give him a little bit of praise, because I feel it's much deserved this season. So, Tom, I'll come to you next. So another sort of comment, and I think this is one that's really important. So Jones only seems to have one plan, and he waits till it's critical to change it. Cost us massively yesterday. Around 60 minutes, they were there for the taking. Do you think the system? Look, we all know that Nathan Jones loves a 3-5-2 or a 5-3-2, whatever you want to call it. But is that, again, it seems like we're not playing a system that suits the players. We're playing a system that suits Nathan Jones, and he doesn't like to defer from that system. Are we playing the incorrect system, in your opinion?
I think we're becoming too predictable, personally. Because we've played the same system for almost 2 seasons now, pretty much, and I think teams are now kind of saying, look, okay, we're going to use Josh Edwards down the left each time, and then he's going to drive forward to TC. I think that's becoming far too predictable, because I think TC got 2 men on him that the whole game as well, which obviously we knew what he did last season. Do I think we need to change? Yes. But at the same time, was in this same position last season, and then something clicked. So hopefully that happens eventually. Obviously, with the striker partnership, I think Leeburn's also missing Godden. I know we can't rely on one player and everything, but this team's crying out for someone like Godden to be in front of goal, because anytime he's in front of goal, I'm 99% of the time I think he's going to score a goal. As simple as that. Obviously, there's a few changes that probably could happen. Obviously, we've still got I think just under 24 hours of the window left, so anything can happen. System wise, yes, it is a weird one, but obviously Jones is a very stubborn man, and he likes to play it his way, not anyone else's way. But yeah, I mean, you can see the players yesterday were all frustrated. Ramsey was the last one to go in. He looked fuming. He was fuming coming out of the stadium, actually, to be fair. I saw him. He was absolutely seething. But yeah, I mean, it all depends on what, I guess, the players' strengths are as well, because some players can't play in certain positions as well. Obviously, with the back three, it's who the hell do you drop? It's like, because obviously if you drop them, you drop Apt on the right wing back and everything like that. So it's like, what the hell do you do? But yeah, it'll be an interesting one. But I think a lot does need to change, and I mean, they've got 2 weeks to work on it, to be fair. So hopefully Jones finds something that works for him. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, I've been sitting here all day, and I've been like, do we need to go 4-3-3? Like, would that be better? For me, working with Actor as a wing back, it doesn't work. He's a winger. Yeah, he can't cover both areas. He's a winger. And it's ridiculous. Stephen Sid, I'll come back to you. I want to just pick out some performances. Now, I'd probably say defensively yesterday, that was one of the worst performances I've seen from our defence in. And I'll exclude Amari Bell, because I've already praised him and I thought he was fantastic again. Looked really strong on the ball. I thought he was really settled in there. You know you're having a bad game when Lloyd Jones and Kane Ramsey have absolute stinkers. And bless Kane, I think he's got plenty of credit in the bank, to be fair. But he had an absolute shocker. I've never seen him give the ball away so many times, and What did you make of that defensive performance yesterday? I'd even say, sorry to upset Paul and Tyler, one of the worst games I've seen from Josh Edwards as well. Yeah. He had another really poor game. So do you think there's a confidence issue there, or what is the issue there?
I don't know. I wouldn't have thought it was a confidence issue, because, I mean, as a back 3, 5, whatever you want to call it, overall this year we've been pretty solid, and all the guys have earned their pundits, but yeah, yesterday for whatever reason, I broke it up into two 20 and a 25 yesterday. The first 20 was absolutely awful. I mean, we didn't get out of the blocks at all, and I think that the 2 at the 2-3 at the back were sluggish. They looked off the pace. They looked a little bit surprised, if I'm being honest, by what was happening in front of them. Kone was causing problems up front. Smith was causing problems on that side. There were a couple of occasions when I don't think that Kane was helped by Apter, but as we mentioned, that he's not a wing back, and some of the things that he's being asked to do potentially are foreign to the kid. So I think we've got to give him a bit of leeway there. But yeah, it was just uncharacteristic from both of those two yesterday. We're talking about the two giants in our back four, the rock solid guys that never put a foot wrong, and they were just off the pace first half overall. I think we got it together a little bit in the early part of the second half, but obviously then the second goal went in and that was it. But yeah, maybe it was just a day at the office for those guys yesterday, specifically those two, because, they are two of our better players, let alone better defenders. And as I say, I think Bell came out with some credit yesterday. But yeah, it looked like we got caught in the headlights a little bit yesterday. You're talking about a team that have played against Kone enough last season to work out what he's all about. And yeah, I agree with you, Emma. I think he has put a few pounds on. He looked much stronger yesterday and less likely to be bullied. But yeah, it just looked like we weren't ready for them yesterday. And I think one of the things that if you'd have been an absolute guarantee yesterday, whether it be a fan or a pundit or whatever, they were coming out of the blocks yesterday. From the start, you get beat 7-1. You're coming out and you're going to try and prove anything. So I'm sure, or at least I hope the message was from the start: get ready for this. They're coming at you. Take the first 15-20 minutes, suck it in, do what you're good at, and then get a foothold in the game. But yeah, the first half was a write-off, and if I'm being lucky, we were lucky to go in one down, let alone 2 or 3. It was just one of those days for the guys yesterday. I'm desperately hoping that everyone finds their form for a couple of weeks' time, because we will need those guys at that period of time. But yesterday, you would hope that those players are more experienced now, that they can write that off mentally, they can write it off physically, they can just let that one go, because you just say they've earned credit in the bank this season already, I think.
Yeah, Sid, my question to you would be, obviously from what your dad has said there, some really good points you've made there, Steve, but do you think maybe that back line, and I maybe won't include Rob Apter because obviously he wasn't with us last season, but if I look at the rest of the back line there, do you think maybe they've got a little bit complacent, a little bit too confident? Obviously we had a record number of clean sheets last season, and there's been a hell of a lot of praise. Obviously Lloyd got into the League One Team of the Year, he won our Player of the Year. Do you feel that there's a little bit of a bit overconfidence in there, and maybe they thought that it would just be a walk in the park? Obviously, they've played against Kone before, and let's face it, he got pocketed by Lloyd Jones in all the games last season. So, do you think maybe there was a little bit of overconfidence on their part?
I mean, maybe, but then again, they're probably looking at it as you've gone from League One to the Championship, so it is a step that you've got to make, and they've been doing pretty well. But obviously yesterday it was a bit of a stinker for them, because Kone, again, as everyone's saying, he has looked stronger and he did play quite well, to be honest. But again, I just think that maybe the defence needs to have a think about the game yesterday, have a look at what they did wrong and what they did all right, and move on from there, because obviously you can't just judge a whole player based on one game. I mean, especially Kane and Lloyd, they've been really good this season. So yesterday probably just wasn't their day.
Yeah, no, that's it. Hopefully they can, do some work in this 2-week break and come back stronger. And I actually spoke to Kane last night. I won't divulge all our conversation, but he's very psyched up for the Millwall game. So I've given him a few words of well, let's put it this way, very few strong words of encouragement for him and the boys. So, Paul, I'm going to leave probably the most controversial player to talk to.
Cheers.
Talk about to you, because I know you love a rant. So, look, Tyrese Campbell, as I've spoken about, earlier in the stream, we've got £5 million worth of talent sitting on that bench. Yet we're playing a player that, even last season, yes, he was fantastic in League One. Did he really deliver enough to be warranting a start? No. Was he ready for the step up to the Championship? probably not. But I just want to put it out there as well. I've seen some really disgusting abuse aimed at Tyrese. That isn't okay, guys. You know, we've brought you up before. There's no need for that. He's a young lad, and you know he is doing his best. Although the funniest one I did see that someone compared his strength to the strength of a poppadom, which I did actually think was quite funny. But that's the only one I found quite funny, to be fair. But look, Paul, what are we going to do with that front line? As I've spoke to Tyler there, you know, Miles Leeburn at the moment has made himself undroppable. Mm-hmm. But you watched that game yesterday, and as we've said, Miles is winning 16 out of 22 headers. Mm. Tyrese did not follow up on not single one of them yesterday. Is that the kind of striker we should be playing?
Yeah, I mean, I might disappoint you, Emma. I don't feel like ranting about TC in particular, because I think, you know, when you've got quite a number of other players on that pitch who didn't deliver, I think, you know, I wouldn't want to single him out. Clearly, as others have said, you know, Jones does like him, and he does see a lot in him. And I think we've all agreed that Tyrese, whatever you say about, you know, his end product, he delivers 110%. So I think he's always going to get credit in the bank for that, certainly from me anyway. I mean, I still think that he does worry defences. He does detain people. So, you know, as Tom said, occasionally he was getting doubled up. So he was actually making them think. So I think there's certainly a usefulness there for sure. He got around the back a couple of times, but as I say, we're looking for more than that. You're right. I don't think that he did, you know, latch onto a lot of what Miles did. I did say to Tom that I felt it was almost like Jaden Stockley 2.0, hoof it up to the big man, and he was flicking them on, and no one was actually running onto them. So, I mean, I wouldn't entirely blame Tyrese for that, but one thing I would say is that, you know, he was obviously, he seems to be tiring around sort of the 75th minute, 75 minutes, and I think that's when you need to make the decisions and sort of hoik him off. Does he still justify his starting position? I think probably. I mean, do we have anyone else that could really do the job he does? I'm not sure. But yeah, I think he's been getting pelters. I think there is sort of a mindset with Tyrese that he doesn't care, that he's lazy. You know, he doesn't show his emotions and that sort of thing. He's a shy lad. He's one of those proverbial sort of confidence players. And the more you knock him, probably the more it's going to affect him. So I think for me, the jury's out. I would start him against the Bermondsey lot, to be honest. But he's probably on a bit of borrowed time, because I don't think his end product is really all that at the moment. Having said that, if we get Goddard's back, and it was almost like lightning in a bolt with the two of them. They had a great tandem going last year. So, you know, once Goddard's comes back, you know, you might see it sort of reignite. But given, as you said, we've got Tanto, who's been unused. You know, we don't want to have sort of Tanto 10-minute time. We want to have Tanto sort of, you know, at least half, you know, come on at 60, you know, actually see what he's made of. So, as I say, I've got a lot of sympathy for Tyrese. I wouldn't drop him myself. But as I say, I think, you know, there is scrutiny there. That's all, the jury's out, because the end product maybe isn't what it was last season because of the high level, really. So, but yeah, I mean, I'd just say to people, just lay off him, give him a chance, because yeah, I'm sure it's affecting him probably more than it would most of the other players. Some can probably just cast it off and say whatever, you know, you can criticise me all you want, but I think with Tyrese, he is quite a sensitive soul, and he needs sort of cajoling, and he needs the arm around the shoulder rather than the bollocking. So I just say to people, you know, give him a chance, give him, you know, another couple of games. If he's not delivering, you've got others jumping at the bit, then okay, make a change. But you know, but I think there is a bit of bias from Nathan. So I think Nathan would probably be loath to make that sort of change, but because he wouldn't want to knock Tyrese's confidence. But at the end of the day, you know, he has to make decisions for the good of the team. You know, and there we are. So as I say, I'd say lay off TC for the moment. Mm-hmm. But as I say, if there's not been much progress in, say, the next couple of games, then I think his place is very much in jeopardy.
Can I say something quick?
Yeah, go for it, Tom. Yeah.
He, to me, he looked like he was struggling after 60. He looked like he pulled something or done something, and then Jones was put him at wing back, which we have known for the last 2 seasons. He does not work there. I don't know what our managers' things are putting strikers or wingers at wing back, but it don't work. And I mean, I think we said in the group chat yesterday, I think either you bring him on for last day or you just play him for 60. Because after 60 he tires out. And I mean, you saw against Leicester, he was cramping up after 75 minutes, something like that. That's when you bring Tanto on to bring a bit more physicality. I think everyone around mine and Boyer has also said that, because they were a very physical side. They were honest at all times. I mean, Lloyd left the ground with a thing around his thigh. It is mental. So hopefully that's not too serious. But yeah, I do think people need to let off him a little bit, because at the end of the day, he's only 21 still, and he's been. I mean, it's his first. Well, I think it's his first ever 4 appearances in the Championship as well. He's never played it before either. So I think you just need to give him a chance. I think once Gordon maybe comes back, maybe they'll relight his fire. But I think some of the hate and abuse I've seen against him is crazy to me, because he's not lazy. He's just getting quite unlucky in my opinion, because I mean, as you say, he's getting doubled up on most games now, because I think people now know who he is. Obviously, we've had bids probably rejected for him this summer as well. So just be patient. Obviously, I think people forget as well, last season we also started very slow with our attacking threat and everything like that. It'll take time. Jones just needs to find the right team and right 11, but putting him at wing back and everything is not going to help him at all.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the one thing we can't question is Tyrese's effort and his work rate. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it's really his fault that he's being played, maybe, in the wrong position for him at the moment. Sid, did you want to say something, lovely?
Yeah, sorry. Obviously, this is just my opinion, and it's no hate to Tyrese, but I personally wouldn't start him for the Millwall game, because I think Tanto does deserve a chance, and I think that Tanto would be a better option for that game. I get that Tyrese is only 21 and that is still young, but I mean, you're playing in the Championship. You're going to get hate, so you've got to kind of just adapt to that and make sure that you can actually do it. Obviously, it is a big step up from League One to the Championship, but I don't know. Like, he was being a bit lazy, to be honest. I mean, obviously, he can work on that, but I feel like he does need to get either taken off or be on the bench and maybe come off a bit later.
Yeah, no, someone has put in the chat, well said, Sid. Thanks. So, and I probably agree with you as well. I think for me, he isn't a starter for that Millwall game, because I worry the occasion will overwhelm him. There's going to be a lot of nastiness, a lot of hate between the two fans. There's going to be a lot of rivals singing, and it's a pretty full crowd as well. I do worry that the atmosphere and just the occasion will overwhelm him, if I'm honest. And I think we need to go out there all guns blazing and put our strongest 11 out there. And is he part of our strongest 11? I don't believe he is at this point in time. So I know who I want to see. And if I could telepath to Nathan Jones, I would, but I don't think he'd listen to me anyway. Tyler, I want to come to you about someone who I actually thought didn't do too bad when he came on yesterday, and someone who I'm really stuck as to what we're going to do with, Mr. Charlie Kelman. Now, we signed this guy for 3.5 million. He's probably our biggest spend in quite a few years, and we're not playing him, and we're not giving him a chance to make something of himself, in my opinion. Like, he started on Tuesday, but like we said, Tuesday wasn't a right game for these guys. It was just a shambles. He brings him on yesterday. He actually made a couple of good chances. And, I really like the fact he tried to get the crowd going at one point as well. What do we need to do with him to get the best out of him? Because he's getting pelters from QPR fans today. Yeah. But, from last season, if I could have picked to have bought either Richard Kone or Charlie Kelman, if you'd have told me at the end of last season I could have one of them, I would have picked Kelman.
100%. Yeah.
So what do we do with Kelman? We've bought him. He's our most expensive signing. He's a really young lad. He's clearly got the ability. What do we need to do with him to get the best out of him?
Charlie's a difficult player to analyse for me in terms of where he fits in this system and what he can offer. I felt against QPR that was probably the most involved he's been in the game in the Championship, and as you said there, he created a few chances, and it was good to see him, trying to get the crowd behind him, I suppose, because he has had a few, probably, well, not on the same magnitude as TC, but he has had some criticism from the fans as well. I saw some fans that were trying to argue that we should have signed Kone over Kelman, and I think that's absolutely stupid, to be honest, considering the different momentum that each player's had. Kone faded in the second half of the season, whereas Kelman kept scoring. He kept having that confidence. It goes back to what we said about Godden and May when they first come in the team. They took time just before they scored goals. And I think all Kelman needs is one goal to get his confidence up. And I think playing against his former side, where he actually didn't look too bad when he come on, I think will do him the world of good. The difficulty is that I think, the attack is my biggest concern this season, because we've scored 2 goals and none of the strikers have scored. So that for me is a problem in terms of, is it a system problem or is it a combination? If you're looking at all 4 of the games, Kelman started against Watford with TC, probably the wrong combination. Kelman, wasn't really involved in the game. He was still trying to get up to speed. It was harsh on him to start that game. He had about 45 minutes in pre-season with us, and I think he started against Bristol City and it was the same thing. Mm-hmm. And then he got dropped. Leeburn got a start against Leicester. Again, I could see flashes of it working, but it didn't necessarily. And then QPR was the same thing. The common denominator for me with the attack is that TC, in my opinion, has now not worked or isn't working with 2 strikers in the team. So I think I'm going back to TC. I don't want to pelt him too much, but I just think we're limited when we start him up front, because he just isn't working with whoever we've got up front. And I think at the moment with the attack that we have, Matty Godden is sat there on the operating table licking his lips thinking, here we go, this will be a piece of piss to get back in the starting 11, because we are missing him badly. But I think there's a real opportunity there with Kelman. As you said, we splashed money on him, a lot of money on him, and there's going to be with that a lot of expectation on him and a lot of high expectation. But the reality is he's 23, he's still young, very unproven at this level. As our fans said, our QPR fan on the show on Wednesday said they didn't really give him a chance in the Championship, and you'd think that we are going to give him that opportunity. And I would like to see him get that opportunity, but we're just in a difficult spot where we don't know who to play alongside him and we don't know how to get the best out of him. Is he someone that Apter and Edwards can cross balls into the box to and he can latch onto him? I personally think he's probably that striker to latch onto Leeburn's headers. If Leeburn was winning the headers, if we had Kelman there, could he have been that player to run in behind? Because I think that's how he scored most of his goals for Leyton Orient. Mm-hmm. So I think that's probably the way to go. But I think, as Paul said, I think he is slowly getting up to speed. But I think, to be honest, after the international break, that excuse won't be valid anymore. I think it's getting to the point where he now has to. These 2 weeks are crucial for him. And I think it applies for Harvey Nibbs as well, because you could see that he's kind of not up to speed. We can't use that excuse come the Millwall game. They've got these 2 weeks to train with the boys more, put the effort in on the training ground, and hopefully make a statement to Jones being like, look, I've come here to play in the Championship and play minutes. So hopefully they can do that. But with Kelman, it's a difficult one, because I think Jones is so stubborn to the point where TC won't get dropped. And you can't take Leeburn out with the way he's playing. So Kelman's in a difficult position where he's now being brought off the bench and having to make an impact. And there's a pressure with that because he's our £3.5 million striker. So he's got to come on and do something. It's difficult. It's a difficult one, but I've got full confidence in Kelman. I don't get people criticising him. I think you just need to give him time. Ultimately, he's 4 games into a 4-year deal. Do you know what I mean? He's here long term. Get used to him being here. Get used to supporting him, and keep chanting his name, because I think he can offer something. All I think he needs is a goal. We just need to figure out who to play alongside him better. In my opinion, I think that'll be Leeburn. I think that'll be the combination. I'd like to see Kelman be linked alongside. And let's see if we can get the ball in behind him, or if he can put balls into the box, because we saw from the QPR game, it wasn't exactly outstanding, but there was flashes as to what he can offer this team. So just don't give up on Kelman. That's all I'll say. Don't give up on him.
Mm-hmm. Yes, great feedback there, Tyler. I'm just going to comment on a couple more, but if you guys have any personal questions for anyone of either me or Tom,
not too personal,
or Sid and Steve, if you've got any personal questions for any of us, now is the time to drop them in the chat, and I will ask them. We've got about 10 minutes left of the show, so if you have got anything to ask that you want to ask us personally, please drop them in, and I will ask them.
Can I mention something quickly as well?
Is it what you asked me about earlier?
No.
Oh,
It's
okay.
about the team. Midfield for me. I think Connor Coventry had a good game, but I thought he was playing two positions again personally. Because any time I think it was it Kane went forward, he would come back every time, and he was unlucky to get a yellow card as well. That in the first 10 minutes. So I thought he had to kind of hold off a bit more in the game, which I thought he did very well. I thought some of his passes were all right. Maybe could have attacked a bit more, but I thought the midfield was all right. Although we barely would have used them, it felt like we was going back to hoofball, which is not ideal. But I thought him and Doc were actually all right yesterday as well. To be fair, and I thought Carey was my man of the match.
Yeah, I actually going to disagree with you. I actually think that was one of Connor's poorest performances. But I actually think Doc has been pretty good the last few games, and for someone who I'd probably battered a bit, I actually think he's come quite good, and I really love to see him battling out there yesterday and putting up a proper fight, which is what our captain should be doing. Just a couple of comments, and Marcus reiterate basically what I've said. A 4-3-3 or 4-4-2 would open up so many opportunities for our highest quality players to play in their actual positions. And then he's also put, for me, this 3-5-2 is killing us. I think this is exactly what we've said. Nathan Jones just will not change. He's too stubborn. I've got a question from Zach in the chat. So Sid and Steve, I'm going to ask you this because it's someone who we haven't spoken about. So what did you make of Kaminsky's performance?
Yeah, he made a good save from the free kick that went down to his left. I'm not sure I was overly critical for the goal when I first saw it, but then I've looked back on it and it did go straight through him. But I think that was probably one of the ones that either some keepers might have got lucky and saved it, or some keepers may have let it go through them. But yeah, I'm not sure he did a massive amount wrong yesterday. But yeah, having looked back at the goal, it looks a softer goal than it looked in real time while we were there, to me, if I'm being honest with you.
Yeah, Sid, you got any comments about Kaminsky?
Yeah, I thought he was all right, to be honest. There was a few people that I know saying about that he could have done better on the 1v1 on their third goal. But I'm not sure, to be honest, because I mean there were people saying that he shouldn't have came off his line, could have tried to save it. But I mean, someone's running at you, you're going to try and take the ball.
Yeah, I mean, these guys know what I'm about to talk about, but basically we got sent in our group chat last night a little bit of a drunken voice note, and in this drunken voice note, I'm not going to say who it was from, but in this drunken voice note, it was Kaminsky is absolute shite and is no better than Will Mannion. And to be fair, not saying Kaminsky is shite, but I don't think he's any better than Will Mannion, if I'm being completely honest. And if we were going to upgrade to a much better keeper, I don't think we've really done it. I don't think Mannion probably should have been dropped after last season's performances, and I haven't seen really anything from Kaminsky yet that's convincing me otherwise. So, I've got a couple of comments I'll read out. So we've got Sean Bartley Evans. I don't know if that's our Sean Bartley. I don't think it is, but they're saying that Kelman is a quality player. Chris has said, did Jones want some of these players, or were they signed and given to him? Seeing Jones never rated Alfie. Kelman doesn't seem Jones' type of striker. Yeah, Charlie said the Doc has been decent as a battler in the middle. Rastos has asked a question to all of us, so I'll come to all of you individually. Do you agree that Nathan Jones makes subs too late to impact a game? So, Paul, I'll ask you first. Tom?
Yes, basically, we've spoken about it. Basically,
sorry, I thought you had just said yes. I was moving on.
No, I mean, I think we've spoken already, haven't we? We said that he needs to bring on. He brought a couple on probably too early. Brought Apter and Sonny off far too early, and it's just with Tanto. I mean, what are you doing bringing him on at minute 87? Makes no sense. Obviously, if it's a case of what we hold you defending a position, for example, you want him to cause a bit of chaos and keep the ball up the far end, fair enough, but we were chasing the game. So, you know, what are you doing bringing him on with 3 minutes of normal time? What impact can he possibly have? So it's that sort of thing, really. Be logical. And I'm not sure that, you know, many of his substitutions have been logical. And we had the same issue last season, didn't we? So.
Yeah, Sid and Steve, do you think in the first half that we, you know, weren't great in? Would you have made those subs at half time?
I probably would have not made them like straight away, but I still think half time would have been the right time to bring on Tanto. But one thing about the substitutions as well was you bring in Rob Apter and Sonny Carey off when they've probably been the best players on the pitch yesterday. And Rob Apter, I thought he was excellent, except from maybe the fault of the first goal where he wasn't goal side. And then the other thing is, again, no hate to him, but I don't really understand how Tyrese does stay on the pitch for the whole 90 minutes when I just said you're bringing off two of your best players on the pitch. It just doesn't really seem right to me.
I am actually really glad that people mentioned the Leeburn one as well yesterday, because on the way home yesterday, the more and more I felt about that substitution, seeing as though we had an attacking free kick, seeing as though it was going to go in the box, seeing as though Lloyd was going to pile in, Lloyd stayed up front. I just didn't understand taking a 6'7" guy off who's a goal scorer when you're trying to pump balls into the box. I mean, he's got to be a pain in the backside for centre halves. But yeah, to reiterate, yeah, the subs were wrong yesterday. That they were too late, and the ones. The irony of that is the ones that were earlier were the wrong ones. So yeah. It's a strange one.
Yeah, Tyler, I've got to ask. There's been a bit of a rascal comment in this chat, and you've probably seen it. But Rizzler has said we need to get rid of Edwards. He's starting to be a liability. I have to disagree. I think he had one poor game yesterday. To say he's a liability, I think is ridiculous. So, Tyler, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's very harsh and reactionary. He wasn't great yesterday. I'll be the first to admit that. I think his crossing was poor, to be honest, and set piece play was terrible. Leicester, I didn't think he had a great game either, to be honest. I felt Fatawu had him on skates in the first half. Obviously, it took Fatawu cutting inside and bending it straight in the top corner for him to finally step up and have a decent game. And I will say in the second half, Edwards played really well. But yeah, that's harsh. I mean, Edwards has been... I still don't think he got the credit he deserved from last season. And in the opening 2 games of the season, he was setting this league alight. You know, he made that step up and he was really, really solid in the defensive line. I think what could potentially limit him is the fact that he doesn't have the cover behind him. You know, we don't really have another left wing back. I mean, we've got Bell, but we're playing him as a centre half. You know, so I think he perhaps maybe lacks that cover, and there's that fitness area that could be a problem. I suppose you could play Ibby Fuller in that position, but he was another sub who'd probably come on too late as well, if we're talking again about substitutions. But yeah, Edward, yeah, that's very harsh and reactionary for me. I think Edwards has been top draw, to be honest, since he's come to the club. Very capable of making the step up. He wasn't great yesterday, but I think for most of that defensive line, to be honest, I think hopefully we can accredit that as an off day. But yeah, if you can't see what Edward brings to this team, please give your head a wobble.
Yeah,
I knew you was the right person to ask. Paul, I'll ask you this one. Zach has said, what did you think of Fuller's few minutes on the pitch? Now, I thought he was a bit of a strange sub, if I'm being honest, because he brought Rankin Costello on, who I have no words for whatever that is. To be honest, and to bring Ibby Fuller on, is it a lot of pressure for a lad of his age? You know, we're 2-1 down, and he brings Ibby Fuller on. Like, what is he expecting him to do? I don't really understand, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I mean, I think given that, and he's obviously a fantastic prospect, as we all know. If you're going to bring him on in the Championship, you know, you need to bring him on for cameos where he's actually going to make a difference. I think when you're sort of perhaps up, you're leading and you need someone to press home the advantage, and Ibby's probably the person to do it. But I think in that situation, there was a lot of pressure. You know, the team themselves were, I mean, you're expecting a young lad to, you know, lift the team single-handedly, or maybe that was what Jones was thinking. It's too much of an ask, really. And as I say, he's not exactly coming into a well-oiled machine, on at least yesterday anyway. And it's just, you know, it is too much, I think, to expect him to sort of turn the game on a sixpence and on his own, really. So, as I say, I think he needs to be used. You know, he's one player that you need to use, you know, well and sort of, you know, logically. And again, it was kind of throwing him on limited time available as the sort of the wild card. And sometimes that will work, but we need to be more strategic, I think, in using Ibby. So yeah, again, I just it was another sort of mystifying substitution, really. And I think it was just it's too much pressure on a young lad's shoulders, particularly when it was just as we said, a bad day at the office for the team, really. But again, hopefully he'll learn some lessons from that. Hopefully they all will before Millwall, because they'll bloody need to. Let's be honest about it.
Yeah, and Tom, I'm going to finish with you. What do people think we can do with the midfield? It's okay defensively, but going forward, it's a real issue.
I think at the moment I wouldn't change that midfield. I think it's the strongest that we can probably have. Obviously, when Nibs is fully fit, then maybe bring him in. But at the moment, I don't think they've done an awful lot wrong, in my opinion. I think they've been three of the more stable players in the team this far in the season. Anyway, I think Coventry, you don't drop him because you're going to get your captain. You're not going to drop him, and Sonny Carey for me has been our best player since. Well, yeah, the best player this season so far. Maybe you change the system. I don't know, but at the moment, I wouldn't change that. Going back to the subs quickly, TC was begging to come off on the 60th minute. He anytime the board went up, he was looking, why the hell am I on the pitch still? Because he was struggling. It was clear. So maybe Jones needs to kind of look at that a bit more. Maybe, I don't know. But yeah, Berry. I think he's injured. If I'm not too mistaken as well. But that'll be an interesting one though as well.
Yeah, Chris has actually put in the chat, needs Luke Berry. I have to disagree because I think Sonny Carey is Luke Berry on acid. So I think Sonny Carey is worth 10 of Luke Berry. So sorry, Chris. Tell Jack I still love him though. But yeah, he's no. So that is going to be it for tonight, guys. But I am quickly going to come to Tom, who has got some information for you.
Well, obviously, next week, the men's team aren't playing and the women's team are playing at home against Crystal Palace for the first game of the season. Crazy game, I know. But make sure you get down there. I think quite a few tickets have already been sold. Obviously, I'll be in C block. That's normally where the noisier people are. So make sure you get a ticket, get down, support them. Obviously, as I say, the men aren't playing at all next season, so you might as well get down to the Valley, get down, support them, and hopefully we can win a London derby next week, and then the week after we beat Millwall, so that'll be even better.
Whose dog is trying to interrupt our show?
Dog agrees. Tom.
That's mine. I do apologise.
What dog you got, Tyler?
Pitbull.
You've got a pit bull?
Yes.
Yeah, and the dog's got my dog in as well.
Oh, look. There's little TC.
Yes.
Right, guys, that is it for tonight. And just so you know, we are not here next week. We are going to have a week off. We will be back the Wednesday.
He's not a fan of that.
Show your dog, Tyler.
Trying to get a word in.
Yeah. It's like Millwall. He's ready. We will be back the Wednesday before Millwall for a Millwall preview, and I will try my best to get us a Millwall fan on as well to talk to us about them. So remember to go and follow us on TikTok. Tom's done an amazing job. We are up to nearly 200 followers already.
Yeah, I think we're three off of it now. So
yeah, so go and follow the TikTok if you're not already. We're getting like 5,000 views on a lot of our videos on there. So make sure you go and hit our TikTok. Sid and Tom are both looking after that for me. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Go hit up our Facebook and our Instagram and our X account. So we're everywhere. You can't miss us. And if you do want to buy some merch, the link is on the YouTube channel. So get yourself a hat and look like Tom and Paul.
Yeah.
And you can also get hoodies, mugs, whatever you need. We're there for you. get your Chronicles merch.
Get a pint glass. Get a pint
and
glass
get a
after the
pint glass.
season.
Yes, you don't have to nick one from the pub. So big thanks to Paul, to Tom, to Tyler, to Sid and Steve. And we will see you all a week on Wednesday. Thanks for watching, guys, and take care.
See you in a bit,
Cheers,
people.
See you guys.